Well, many a baseball has felt the sting of the old bat here at Shepherd Stadium. After it was renovated in 1951, the ballpark was renamed in honor of Mayor Fred Shepherd. Some of the greats got their start right here. If this old field could only talk, what stories it would tell.
Shepherd Stadium, you wasn't allowed to go in that. It wasn't Shepherd Stadium, it was a wooden ballpark. And it's many historical facts about that. They had a tree right behind the right field foul line, and a group of men built them seats up there to look at the ball game. And they would climb a tree, and about every 3 innings, a guy selling drinks would go out. They had a string that they would let down, and the guy that sold drinks was tongue-tied. So they would make him say the brands of drinks several times, and he would say yum and yam, orange and yape, and they would say, give us a Coke. You know, it would be a big joke. And many people knot-holed at the ball games. People today don't know what knot-hole people are. But I remember there was a man lying on the ground one night when I was a kid, and my daddy was knot-holing, and I was knot-holing too. I was right beside him. And the ball come out and hit the man in the eye and blacked his eye.
For recreation, we had a ballpark there, and on Sundays, we'd go to the ball games on Sundays, and there was just as many people in right field in the old pin oak tree as there was in the stands. And we had seats built up on the limbs. Mr. Mills, he put railroad spikes up in the tree so he could get up there, and the drink boy said he'd sell more drinks down at the tree than he did in the stands.
So we didn't have recreational leagues back then, so we had to form our own leagues. And so one of the earliest leagues that we had in this city, after the Colonial Heights Firemen had their league, was a bunch of youngsters, late teenagers and early 20s, Colonial Heights Athletic Club, CHAC was the name of it, Colonial Heights Athletic Club. And those boys in their late teens and early 20s, that was, we formed our first baseball league back then. And people ask us, well, where did you play then? Well, we played at the ballpark, and then we played at places like Chester and Ettrick, and we played at Baltimore Corners way up in Dinwiddie County. We played in different places like that, Woodpecker Lodge, and of course on holidays, these various places, they would have Brunswick stews and barbecues.
I can remember when Shepherd Stadium was just a woodsy field, and with a great big beech tree on the corner, and the way that they cleared the land then was by hand and by grubby hoe or whatever you could use, and the way they would remove the stumps was by dynamiting them. And so we'd go up there and we'd stand back and watch them dynamite the tree stumps and get the tree stumps up. And then they built the stadium, and then during the 30s, in the WPA area, they built the wall, the cinder block wall around the stadium, which is still there.
The bib tournament started in 1956 when we got the idea to do the bib tournament. And it was guys in the Optimus Club were looking for a project that we could have that would be something that would be lasting and would be youth connected, and so we came up with the idea for holding the bib tournament. And I think the way the idea came about, we were watching the semi-pro state tournament was being held in Colonial Heights, and there was only about 50 people in the stands, and there was semi-pro ball players from all over the state, and we said, you know, it's amazing, good baseball like this and no attendance. And we looked over at the Little League Park off the back of the stadium, and there must have been 200 people watching that. And so, you know, we said, geez, maybe that would be an idea. People are so interested in that, we ought to hold a state tournament for Little Leaguers.
We had millions and millions of raffles.
Yeah.
Thousands of raffles. And Herb Solomon is the one that designed the bib. It was a boys' invitational baseball tournament, so he just bought BIB, which would be bib, boys' invitational baseball. So that's where the BIB came from. But the bib was pretty successful. I think the kids, when they come into Shepherd Stadium, to them, Shepherd Stadium is like walking into Yankee Stadium to UI. It's with the field, the way it's fixed up with the grass infield and the fence up, it's just, they in awe when they see that ballpark. And you hear them talking about it, and it's raised a little money for us, but I think the biggest thing of it is we've had the pleasure of being able to put it on for that length of time, and it's had been that successful. I don't know of anything in Colonial Heights that has been that successful that started out from anything.
This was one of the most outstanding youth projects, I guess, in Colonial Heights, and it certainly put Colonial Heights on the map as a congenial host, especially for the professional assistance we received from the Colonial Heights Recreation Department.
I used to sell 95% of the ads that they had in the program. We have a nice program. I don't know if y'all saw one this year or not, but every year it's been a nice program. And I used to sell 95% of those ads, and that's when I got, the first year that I sold them, Leonard Lubman was selling them, and he used to sell them all. When he died, they gave me the job. And Mr. Burroughs up here ran a auto parts place, and they said, don't go to Burroughs. Say, he don't buy no ad. I said, well, I'm going to sell him first. If I can sell him, I can sell anybody. So I remember going up there, and he always wore a hat. He ran behind the counter. When he watching me, I had that bookman, he's watching me, you know, and I'm watching him. Finally he said, wonder what I wanted. I said, just want to talk to me. He said, come on around. Went on around in a little room, man. I was telling him about the ads. He said, no, he wasn't interested. I said, Mr. Burroughs, how long you been in business over here? He said, 8 years. I said, you ever had a break-in? No. I said, well, that's exactly what we do. We try to keep the youth busy over here and keep them out of trouble. And I said, you see where they're rifling parking meters and nothing really bad going on there, but just a lot of break-ins and stuff over in Petersburg. Yeah, and you never had one. No. He said, how much is them ads? So I was the first man selling an ad, and that year I sold more than was ever sold in the history of it. I believe it's 1967, and I made outstanding options that year for the Bee of Evidence, and I've been selling ads, still selling ads. We're trying to ease them off on somebody else now. I'm getting so old. But and every year it grows every year. The bib tournament grows every year. So, and I was talking to people up there this year at the bib, and a lot of them said it was a nice diamond, and how nice it was run, and how good it was for the youth, and how many children had been through it, and just been outstanding for the city.
Colonial Heights has always been blessed with people like you guys and the civic organizations and the ones that come to mind, in particular the Optimist Club and the American Legion and the VFW that support those kinds of programs. And the thing that stands out most in my mind was in '65 when we won that state championship, and the season was over for us. We had it was only a mathematical possibility that we could even tie the top two teams, and the last night they were playing, we were finished. We were done. So the bottom two teams had to beat the top two teams. Both of them had to lose. And so we don't need to get into too many details, but James and I are probably out later than we should have been, and thinking that the ball season's over for us. And about 8 o'clock in the morning, here comes my dad up the steps saying, come here, and he tells me that this has happened. The two bottom teams have beat the two top teams, and we're gonna go for a playoff at Highland Springs High School this morning.
I remember that.
It was a long day. It was a long day, but as we all know, that it panned out. We ended up winning winning the local, and then going ahead and playing Stanton, and ended up beating them for the state championship. But it was a rough way to get there.
I want to say a few things about Legion ball, because as I look back, both Billy Martin and Bobby Harris and some of the rest of us grew up in Shepherd Stadium, is the way I look at it. I played my first game for Post 284 when I was 14. I turned 15 in July, and we started playing, Roland, as you know, right after the high school season. So we were playing before graduation, before the end of school. We had an exhibition schedule going, and I remember very well the first game. I was in awe again of Shepherd Stadium, but more that I had graduated from Little League in Shepherd Stadium to American Legion Baseball, and really wasn't sure I belonged in the lineup, to tell you the truth. But we came from behind and won that first game, and I feel like from that point on, I was all right in Shepherd Stadium.
I can remember playing when we played baseball. And of course, the team that I played for, we didn't have lights on our field, and it was always a real big ticket when you could come to Colonial Heights and play in Shepherd Stadium, because it was lights on that field then when nobody else really around you had lights, and you always look forward to being able to play a night game in Colonial Heights, because Shepherd Stadium at that time was a nice park, and of course today it's just so much more improved, but at that time it was the only field around that had lights.
We wanted to play West End in the Colonial ballpark. That was the first time we'd ever been under the light, and they cut the lights off in the fourth inning. Come around there, Mr. Murphy, and Badger cut the lights off. Said we weren't supposed to be using the city light.
That's right. That's right. You remember that, Whit?
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's the worst thing ever happened to us.
So
where was that?
I don't know.
They called old man Shepherd. He was down at his cottage at Port Powhatan, and he said it was all right. Cut the lights back on.
Yeah.
Years and years ago when we used to play down at Ivy Field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, where the old
go by it all the time. I almost cry when I go
middle school, and then too, you know, they had another league that I remember Tom Arge and them used to play up in the Emmanuel Baptist Church. I don't know what the name of that field.